the Satanists in the forest, let's not meet. I live in France, and this story happened to me this summer, just after the lockdown ended. I was and am still 19 at that time. After the lockdown ended, I went to my grandparents to spend a few weeks. I got tested before and no problems there. My grandparents lives in a small city in the north of France and they have a dog who's quite a big dog. When I was really young, I lived at my grandparents for a year, and at that time the dog was only a puppy. Her name is Chippy in French, which kinda means little devil in English, but in an affectionate way. Considering when I was living there I played with her a lot, we're both really close, and that will have its importance later. Two of my hobbies are having long walks and running, thus every evening I was going out for a long walk with the dog. There's a track that follows a path through the forest, then there's a small hill, and on top of it a big place with lots of fields there. I run there a lot, so I know the place. The air is fresh and the view is quite beautiful. So I was going there with the dog every day. It was also helping my grandparents to have her doing lots of exercise. The first time we went there nothing special happened, we just enjoyed our walk. It's about 6 to 7 kilometers, so basically an hour walk. The next day, when we arrived on the top of the hill, in the field, it was probably around 10 p.m. but there was still some light because it's summer. There was 3 other persons walking in the fields. They were younger than me, probably about 15 to 16. I also noticed they were smoking, so my guess was that they used to come here so they couldn't be seen by their parents. We went past them. I greeted them and they greeted back. Once again, nothing special there. For a whole week I did this walk around the same time, 10 p.m., and passed by those 3 guys with nothing special happening, and it was perfectly fine to me this way. The second week, as usually, I went for the walk with the dog Chippy, and arrived at the fields. There was only one of those 3 boys. He wasn't smoking this time though. When he saw me, I was at the entrance of the field just after the little hill climb. So the entrance of the forest was just behind me. He did a sign with this hand to catch my attention and asked if I had a lighter, which I actually had in my pocket. I told him, yeah sure, so he walked to me, the hand in the pockets of his hoodie. When he came near, for some reasons I felt a shiver. It's crazy how sometimes your instinct knows there's a problem but you don't listen to it because nothing looks weird to you. I handed over the lighter when he passed by. At that moment, my dog was staring at him. Then everything happened really fast. He did a really fast movement with his hand coming from the hoodie and I only saw something shining. I just had a reflex of throwing myself back so hard that I fell down, and I just realized that it was a knife he was holding and he just tried to stab me. What saved me is my dog, God bless her. When she saw the guy trying to stab me, she jumped on him and he fell down. As I said before, it's really a big dog. I immediately got up on my feet and heard something in my back. From the entrance of the forest I saw 2 guys wearing animal masks running to me. They were probably the 2 friends. In this moment your brain acts for yourself. You don't think at all, and in this case the answer he found was really simple. The other guy was still on the ground. I just watched my dog and told her, run. I started running and she followed me. But I heard the worst possible thing from the guy who got up as well. Catch him, don't let him go. At this moment I was totally terrified. I was just running. I was hearing them running behind me. I was only thinking, how long will they follow me? Who the hell are they? This was the first time I was really happy to be a runner. I was clearly better than those guys, and that totally saved me, because they chased for something that felt like an eternity to me. Fortunately, at the end of the field, there's another entrance to the forest, and this time it's a descent with the road at the end. I heard the steps of the 3 guys vanishing as I arrived at the end of the forest. Though I didn't stop running until I arrived at my grandparents' house and locked myself. I caught a big breath and gave a huge hug to my dog. I saw in her eyes that she totally understood what happened, and I had never been so happy to have her in my life. After that, I told everything to my grandparents. We called the police but they didn't find anyone. I don't know what these guys wanted, but the animal max really made me think about some kind of Stanists. I really don't want to know anyway. I still do long walks with Chippy the hero dog, but I now go earlier into places with a little more people. I hope you enjoyed my story. I apologize again if I made any mistakes. And to the 3 guys in the forest, let's not ever meet again. Chased by a naked man in the forest. This took place the summer of 2022, and I just never thought of writing down this story because I was so stunned that it happened to me, haha. So every summer in my city, me and my friends like to make small campfires in chill, secluded areas because we don't want to drive an hour to an actual campsite and pay any campsite fee to do so. These also happen pretty spontaneously, so it's a nice last-minute hang to do. There's this one spot near my house that's located by a river that's really nice because no one usually goes there. The only thing to be worried about are bears though, because living in the Pacific Northwest is challenging like that, and my house specifically is located right next to mountains and forest. So one particular night at 11 p.m., I decide to go ahead of my friends and meet them at the spot and set things up early because I want us to be chilling once they all get there. The spot I get to has a 2-minute paved walkway I have to go through, and then I have to take a small trail ramping down the right side of the bridge that crosses over the river. Along this paved walkway is 2 lamps located at halfway and another at the start of the bridge / the ramp down to the campfire spot. I park my car at the beginning of the trail on the street and bring my campfire stuff like flashlight, lighter, small firewood, small shovel to dig out the pit, etc. I get to the spot and it's a small sandy beach kind of embankment on the side of the river with a small waiting area for toddlers with their families during the hot summers. So I set up the chair and I get to digging the pit with only my flashlight illuminating where I'm digging. I'm also just shoveling the sand right next to me, nowhere near the water, but all of a sudden I hear a loud splash. A splash so loud that it can only come from something equally large like a 2-hand-sized rock. I'm confused because I swear I'm not throwing my sand into the water even though I'm only a few feet away. I shine my flashlight at the water and I don't see anything, so I kind of just brush it off, thinking I'm just hearing things. But as I keep shoveling a bit more, I hear another loud splash. At this point I think something is falling from above because logically something must be falling into the water. I point the flashlight above where some trees are above the river and I don't see anything big enough to make the splash. So as I keep digging, with my heart rate kinda going at this point, I hear a rustling past the arch of where the bridge goes over the river. I quickly grab my light and shine it towards where I heard the rustling. I call out, "Hello." No response. In my head, if it was a bear, I should be getting out of there immediately, but there was no bear, or signs of anything for that matter. So I tell myself I'm just hearing things now because I've seen horror movies before and now my mind is playing tricks on me. But I hear the noise again and it clearly sounds like leaves being rustled, so I shine my flashlight over to the area again. And as I focus my eyes towards the illuminated area, I see the naked back of a man hunched over. I was kind of frozen in anxiety and stress because honestly, of all the things I was to see, I didn't think I'd see the naked back of a man. From the quick analysis my brain could muster up, he looked to be mid-40s, shaved not bald, and medium-ish build, like a mix between chubby and built. As I had my flashlight staying on his back, he started to stand up and the first thing I noticed was that he wasn't wearing any pants either. My next reflex was to start packing up all my crap and getting the hell out of there because now I'm piecing in my head that he must have been throwing things into the water to scare or shimmy away. So after using my reflexive deductive skills, I proceeded to speed walk out of there with all my stuff. I'm carrying all my things with me and briskly walk up the small ramp and I'm on the paved path now out of the forest. I can feel my heart beating in my chest and I am frequently looking back to make sure I'm not being followed. I'm in Crocs mind you, so I'm hoping that if I have to book it out of there, I'd regret not being in sport mode from the get-go. I make it to the halfway point and a sense of relief starts setting in knowing I made it safely out of this very scary situation. But as I check behind me for the final time, I see something, slowly creeping over the ramp, is the naked man crawling on all fours as if he was primate walking. His head was positioned towards me, looking at me as he made his way to the middle of the paved walkway. He slowly gets up from his stance and starts standing on his feet, and positions his body to face me. After setting himself into his new position, the man starts running towards me. I freaking book it. I run as hard as I can down the path. My flashlight jumped out of my pocket and I lost it, but I didn't care because a whole naked ass man was chasing me at 11 p.m. at night in a secluded forest. I looked back for a split second and the man was still running towards me, still completely naked. He could have my flashlight for all I care. I wanted to make it out of this situation alive. I finally make it out of the forest and I run to my car, which is only 30 feet away from the end of the forest. I desperately get to my car and like a classic horror movie, I fumble with trying to get my key fob to unlock my car. I actually drop my keys and quickly think to myself, I'm actually dead, but I brush the thought off and pick them back up. I get my fob properly, unlock my doors, and throw my things into my back seat before getting into my car. This felt like an eternity, but in hindsight, most likely took 6 seconds altogether. As I try to guide my key into the ignition, I am fixated on the end of the paved path that I was just at a few seconds ago, waiting to see if the naked man was coming still. I feel my key go into the ignition, and I switch my sights onto the road in front of me, and I zoom out of the area as fast as possible. As I drive away and I'm a good 30 seconds from the location of the horror that just took place, I get a call on my phone. It was my friends calling me asking if I made it to the spot yet, and all I say to them is, "Guys, do I have a crazy story to tell you?" They pull up to my house because again, it was actually decently close to the campfire area, and I tell them the whole story the way that I told it just now. They swear that it was none of them trying to prank me or anything like that, and I also knew none of them would try to full sprint at me with their dong out. But as we're just talking out in front of my house, there's a college student who looks like he's walking home that's going towards the direction of where I encountered the naked man. I just yelled out to him, "Yo, be careful, there's a naked guy that was chasing me by the bridge that crosses over the river." He responds saying, "Oh damn, really? I gotta go over that bridge to go home." All I tell him is, "Good luck, man." The next day, I reported it to the police by phone, but they sent over an officer so I could tell them in person and show them where in the area I saw these things. When we went to see where I initially saw the man's back hunched over, they said they didn't see any trace of anyone being there previously. But the officer said they would make note of it anyways in case it happens again. Some friends say it's a skinwalker, others say more realistically it's either a homeless, mentally ill, or a drunk/high person. One theory I've heard my friends say is that it's a future version of me pulling a prank on past version of me, because honestly when time travel is real, I would totally screw with my younger self like that. Two men in the forest. I live in a thickly wooded area with dense undergrowth in Washington state. I love it. I love nature, I love hiking, and I absolutely love the sky at night. You can see satellites. There are a few houses nearby, although for the most part it's nothing but unlit twisting road for miles. My boyfriend and I have a tradition. Once a month on the clearest nights we go out and walk maybe a couple hundred yards down the side of the road to this one trail that leads up to a mostly abandoned railroad and station. When I say station, I'm talking a big shack with 3 open walls and some benches, and we lay out on the tracks and look at the stars. Last night I had him over. Before he got there I had my bedroom window open and was laying down and heard rustling in the forest behind my house. Now this isn't unusual, we have lots of deer out here, so I ignored it. It got louder and closer and continued for a good 15 minutes before stopping. Deer are not that loud, unless they are running, and this was all right beyond my window. It was odd, but I'm not afraid of much, and there aren't cougars, wolves, or bears ever spotted here. The worst we have are coyotes, and unless you feed them they will generally tuck tail and run at the sight of a person. Also, even if there was something more out there, my window is on the 2nd floor, split-level home, and there is a good 12-foot drop before the land slopes up to a sort of ridge. Then beyond that is forest. The ridge is level with my window and about 10 feet away horizontally. Anyway, I put that out of my mind and listened to some music while waiting for Tom to get here. His friend dropped him off and we went out, but because of my current condition we only went to the clearing near the end of my gravel drive. He said he heard some major rustling on the walk up, but probably just animals. We go out with flashlights and there is a long, consistent drip trail down about a third of the entire drive, and out over the road. As though a leaky car had pulled into my driveway or something wet was dragged down it. Tom's friend only pulled to the side of the road to drop him off. It might be unrelated, but I still don't have an explanation from what I know, considering I padlock a steel cable across the entrance of the drive when not coming or going. Ideas welcome there. Here's a few pictures of the trail from last night and this morning. The same rustling in the trees, on the same side of the driveway as the house, started up almost as soon as we got to the end of the drive. Just the wind, right? Animals. Totally. Footsteps. Fucking heavy, thumping footfalls from the other side of the road. Bipedal. Human. Entirely different direction of the other sounds. We both shine our lights across toward it and see a person disappear into the brush. Tom yells at him something like, "If you come near us I'll fucking kill you," and we very quickly decide we are going indoors. We start back towards the house and another fucking person sprints out from behind my house then across the drive all of 20 feet in front of us. He went in the direction of a creek that divides my property from the neighbors. Keep in mind it is now past midnight and we are beyond freaked out. We went inside and locked every door and window and wake up my roommate, actual owner of the house, and he called into the nearest police station and reported suspicious people trespassing on my property at night. I have yet to hear any follow-up on that. One thing is for sure, I am not going out after dark unless absolutely necessary.